Ladies, you've made it to the lightning round of Misogyny Mayhem. Are you ready?
No?
Absolutely not.
I hate this game.
Great! Welcome back. Let's take a quick look at our scores. Hey, look at that! You all answered the question correctly, so Anita, Carolyn, you each get 80 points! And Ebony, 63 points for you.
I answered the same thing they did. Why do I only get 63?
The game is rigged! It's so rigged!
I don't want to play this game. I kept telling everyone I didn't want to play this game.
You don't get to stop playing, and you'll never win, because da-da-da-da, it's Misogyny Mayhem! Where you don't get to choose the game because the game, it chooses you! Okay, contestants, next question.
Hey, hold up. You know what, Ebony, Carolyn? Let's just leave. Screw this.
That's not how the game works. You can never stop playing and you can never win.
Man, patriarchy sucks. You know, here at Feminist Frequency, we've had a lot of practice with folks calling us all sorts of horrible things. But the fact is, you don't have to be a woman with a semi-public profile to be attacked with discrimination and gendered insults from random people who seem to think they have a right to your time and attention. Here are some things people will feel totally justified in informing women of their opinions on. Doing things that women aren't supposed to do. Looking a way that women aren't supposed to look. Being too sexy, not being sexy enough. Having sex with that guy, not having sex with that other guy. Playing video games. Wearing tank tops around your middle school principal. Making decisions about your own health. Reporting harassment, not reporting harassment. Having short hair, having long hair. Making jokes on Twitter and not letting men explain them back to you.
Yeah, look, if we get into this, we'll be here all day. The point is, like the game of Misogyny Mayhem, it doesn't matter if you didn't sign up to play. Exist as a woman in this culture, and like it or not, you're in the game, subject to having people emphatically police how you do gender, and often harassing or threatening you if you don't conform to restrictive patriarchal notions of who and what a woman should be. More importantly, you can never do well enough in this ludicrous game to win, and of course, those women who conform to cultural standards and expectations are also oppressed by the limiting roles that our culture lays out for them. Like Kevin said, the game is rigged. It's rigged to benefit men as a group in ways that necessitate the subjugation of women as a group.
See, across many societies and throughout much of time, cultures have reinforced false notions about gender that justify the system in which men are given power over women, with the horrifying excuse that it's for our own good. And the most powerful cultural tool for maintaining that fiction is by framing gender myths as fixed, universal, and our favorite, natural. Myths like women are naturally more emotional than men, while men are naturally more analytical. It is in their nature for women to be caregivers, while it is men's nature to be protectors. By their nature, women love salad. Men require steak to live.
But I love steak.
Too bad.
Because these are beliefs passed down through our families, social institutions, art, media, culture, and religion for generations, they've acquired an air of permanence and false objectivity. As a result, these assumptions don't just support misogyny, they cloak it, so that most of us grow up unable to see the imbalance and unable to recognize the injustice of it all. Instead, we believe that this is how human society naturally is and always will be. But that doesn't mean that these assumptions are inherently true. They're not. And the more we allow ourselves to pass these assumptions on unquestioned, the more of a disservice we do to ourselves and to future generations.
Now, I'm not psychic, but I can already hear the counter-arguments from the YouTube yokels who insist that patriarchy is a myth, misogyny is just jokes, and sexism is somehow women's fault because of boobs or something.
To be honest, those folks probably aren't even listening right now. They're too busy writing op-eds about the redistribution of sex. They've already decided that women's bodies are just a commodity to be allocated at the discretion of any passing Kevin.
But for the rest of us, it's useful to explain a little bit more about how misogyny and sexism are tools designed to maintain systems of power that systematically and institutionally disempower women and gender nonconforming folks. So let's start at the top. What is misogyny? And how can I be a misogynist if I love my mother and my dentist is a woman?
I'm glad you asked, Ebony. Misogyny is the dislike of, contempt for, or inherent prejudice against women based on their gender. Sometimes people get hung up on the fact that misogyny involves hating women, but we're not really talking about the, grr, I really hate that person kind of hate here. We're talking about an often unconscious kind of hatred, a kind that allows you to love individual women while still hating women as a class. Like, you can love your daughter and still think that women shouldn't be mechanics. Think about it. In our society, the worst, most insulting thing that you can call a man is a woman. Words like bitch, pussy, and mangina have so much power specifically because women are so degraded in our culture that there's nothing in the entire universe more shameful for a man to be associated with than femaleness or femininity.
And while women suffer far more under patriarchy than men do, it is worth noting that this is one way in which men can also be limited by it. They can have their gender and gender expression policed and be attacked if they don't perform masculinity in a way that helps maintain and reinforce male dominance. But make no mistake, it's women who are truly subjugated. When a man calls another man a pussy, he's not just insulting that individual man, he's insulting all women as well by suggesting that being a woman is the most shameful and insulting thing a person can be. Maintaining that male dominance over women is so central to patriarchy that when women make men feel emasculated through even mild humor, the reactions from men are often extremely violent. Hence the adage, men are afraid that women will laugh at them, women are afraid that men will kill them.
Okay, but then what's the difference between misogyny and sexism?
Do you really want to get into this?
Do you want Kevin to force us to play another round of Misogyny Mayhem?
Yeah, good point. Well, one way to think about the difference between sexism and misogyny is to think of one as active and the other as passive, or one as the cause and the other as the effect. That is, misogynist beliefs lead to sexist behaviors and policies. And misogyny takes many forms. Sometimes it can be incredibly overt and in your face, like physical abuse or men shouting sexist epithets, but subtle, insidious misogyny, like hiring practices that favor men over qualified women, is at least as common and can do just as much harm.
Scholars like Kate Mann and Moya Bailey are doing crucial work fleshing out the critical distinctions between different types of misogyny, as well as the ways in which other social factors intersect with misogyny, resulting in very different experiences of sexism for, say, black women versus white women. Of course, no matter how diligently we do this work to point out misogyny's existence and dismantle its machinery, there will always be those who dismiss us. It's kind of ridiculous.
One of the most absurd derailing tactics that trolls and harassers use is to suggest that it's impossible for Western feminists to care about, say, horrifically sexist video game characters, while simultaneously caring about the safety of kidnapped schoolgirls in Nigeria. Apparently, there's a hard cap on how many women you can give a crap about at once. And the reason they resort to absurd tactics like this is because challenging misogyny in Western culture is a threat to them. They don't want to lose the advantages that come from the subjugation of women.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what part of this doesn't make sense for a lot of people? Sometimes women seem invested in keeping sexist systems in place too.
That's because we're all immersed in a patriarchal, misogynist culture from the moment we're born. And as we mentioned earlier, some of the assumptions built into the culture serve to camouflage misogyny. When it's part of the cultural air you breathe every single day, it's hard to see it. And it's very easy to accept it as natural and normal, rather than as an oppressive system created by humans. As Alan G. Johnson writes in his incredible book, The Gender Knot,
There is no escaping misogyny because it's not a personality flaw. It is a part of a patriarchal culture, and we are like the fish swimming in a sea laced with it, unable to breathe without it passing through our gills. Misogyny infuses into our cells and becomes a part of who we are because by the time we know enough to reject it, it's already too late.
Also, there are some women who, consciously or unconsciously, leverage misogyny for their own benefit by playing along with sexism, laughing at the sexist jokes, or making sexist comments themselves to be accepted as one of the cool girls. I definitely tried to make my way into the boys' club when I was younger and had to work to unlearn this behavior.
Hey, you know how there are those TV ads that are meant to teach young people that, like, smoking or whatever isn't cool? Maybe we need to start making those for misogyny.
Hey Jimmy, aren't girls stupid?
I don't know.
Come on Jimmy, girls are totally stupid.
I guess.
Whoa! Anti-patriarchy man!
Hey, kids! You don't always have to get along with your little sister. Girls can be annoying sometimes, just like we boys can. But remember, thinking that all girls are stupid today sets you on a dangerous path to not being able to see women as equal human beings later, when you're an adult. And do you know what that's part of?
Patriarchy?
That's right. And what do we say about the patriarchy?
Equality rules, patriarchy drools.
Thanks, anti-patriarchy man.
It needs work.
Anyway, look, we get it. Pushing back against misogyny is really, really tough. The truth is, doing the hard work of recognizing the operation of misogyny and sexism in our lives is scary, frustrating, confusing, and discouraging. When you recognize that social conditioning about gender permeates every aspect of our culture, from the jobs we do to the food we eat, it feels overwhelming. We can joke about the ridiculousness of some of the more absurd examples of sexism in our culture, and we definitely laugh when we come across examples of really outdated thinking that seem out of place in our modern world. But what happens when we do more than laugh and joke?
There's a tremendous cost to fighting these battles in earnest, day in and day out. It's so much easier to go with the flow because when you rock the boat, you often become singled out for punishment and harassment, and people might go to frightening lengths to silence you. It's no wonder we often choose to stay in line and tell ourselves that we're going along with patriarchy because we want to, rather than because it's easier or safer. I mean, who wants to be the feminist killjoy ruining video games? Yeah.
Hope you found this video helpful. We'd love it if you shared this episode with your friends and family.